Hey everybody, and welcome back to Fruitful 7. Today we're going to close out this narrative that we've been walking through where David is going against Goliath. And today is also going to be pretty exciting because we're going to get into the main action of this story, where all of the talking and taunting between David and Goliath is done, and we actually see David put into action the plan that he has devised to, one, glorify the Lord, and two, defeat Goliath and the Philistines. So I know it seems like we have been in 1 Samuel chapter 17 forever, but today we're actually going to finish out the portions of it that we will be diving into together. And so today, the portion of the story that we'll be looking at is found in 1 Samuel chapter 17, verses 48 through 52. I also want to pull out a couple of things from this portion of the scriptures, as we usually do, to help give us perspective on our own lives, our own walks with Christ, and to also encourage us in some things that the Lord may be calling and encouraging each of us to do. Now I'll read for you guys the portion of scripture that we'll be digging into today, starting at 1 Samuel chapter 17, verse 48 once again. And for those of you who may be reading a different version of scripture or aren't used to the version of scripture that I usually gravitate towards, what I'll be reading is the Holman Christian Standard Bible version. And so starting at verse 48, when the Philistine started forward to attack him, David ran quickly to the battle line to meet the Philistine. David put his hand in the bag, took out a stone, slung it, and hit the Philistine on his forehead. The stone sank into his forehead, and he fell on his face to the ground. David defeated the Philistine with a sling and a stone. Even though David had no sword, he struck down the Philistine and killed him. David ran and stood over him. He grabbed the Philistine's sword, pulled it from its sheath, and used it to kill him. Then he cut off his head. When the Philistines saw that their hero was dead, they ran. The men of Israel and Judah rallied, shouting their battle cry, and chased the Philistines to the entrance of the valley and to the gates of Ekron. Philistine bodies were strewn all along the Sharim road to Gath and Ekron. So the first thing that I noticed when I looked at this portion of the scripture, of course, we're following David and Goliath having the verbal exchange that they had. And so as soon as David saw Goliath making an advance towards him, essentially what we see is David running straight to his problems. And I admire David for that, because David knew that he had force, he knew that he had opposition that he had to directly confront. And the fact that he charged, the fact that he quickly moved to deal with the issue is something that I believe all of us can be encouraged by. And I know that for some of us, maybe we've had issues with either procrastination, or maybe we've had issues with being slowful, or maybe even being fearful to move against opposition, or to move against something that is a barrier for us, something that is an obstacle for us. And I think what we can learn from David is that even though he had a very large issue, or in this regard, also a very large person to confront as well, when God is with you and God has empowered you to do something that he set forth for you to do, you can charge at it with all the quickness, with all of the encouragement, with all of the power that you need, and trust in the fact that the Lord is going to deliver whatever it is into your hands. And so that opposition, it may be anything. It may be a sin that you're dealing with. It may be things that are going on with your life, obstacles that you're entrusting the Lord to help you deal with. But the quicker that you run to those things, and the diligence that we bring with us as we invite the Lord into those things with us, those two things together can help us confront and deal with anything and be able to overcome it. The other thing I observe in this passage is that as soon as David found the resolve and walked in the strength that he got from the Lord to slay Goliath, we see that all of the other men of Israel very quickly and very strongly found what they needed from David's example to go ahead and chase after the Philistines and put them to flight. And I think something else that we can learn from obedience that David exhibited in the scripture is that when we do the same thing, when people observe us, when they see our example to go head on and trust God to help us deal with obstacles that we're dealing with in our lives, it actually pulls other people along with us and shows them that, hey, if that person that is standing next to me or that is in my vicinity can do this, I can do it as well. So as we continue to remember and consider how David was used by the Lord in this narrative of him versus Goliath, I want us to remember how the Lord specifically used David in this part of his story and how we will see that throughout the rest of David's life. We're going to look at another conflict that David actually ended up having against Saul when he's starting to grow and come into a lot more of his leadership and expansion just as a person of influence. And we'll also look at some other parts of David's life where he really has to trust and lean on God to deliver him and even some of his family and friends from some tough things as well. However, that is all we have for this episode. Thank you so much for watching and or listening. Remember that we're going to be continuing to go through the book of 1 Samuel. And so if you have time, maybe even read ahead and see if you can find where we'll be going next in this series, Lessons from the Life of King David. But God bless you. I hope that this series of lessons has been helping you on your own personal walk with the Lord, and I pray that it's being strengthened as well. Don't refrain from sharing any praise reports or prayer requests in the comment section of these videos. And if you're listening on Spotify, feel free to drop something in the comment section over there as well, because I want to be able to partner with you guys in prayer as we grow in our walks with Christ together. And so make sure you're back next time when we get ready to dive into a new portion of David's life. And remember, the kingdom of heaven is at hand.